Welcome, welcome to, finally my mic started working here. Want to make sure everything was all good. Weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank here with an update as we continue to monitor the progress of some warmer weather today and the potential for severe weather tomorrow. And I want to point this out as we kind of get to it. Look how the camera is already starting to move. This is not a significant severe weather outbreak, first and foremost, and that's what I want to talk about here specifically. If you're going to pick three headlines from this here as we follow along through tomorrow, this is not a large severe weather outbreak. We're not dealing with something, every time we have a severe weather outbreak, we talk about in comparison to 314 day. We do not have anything like that whatsoever. But we will see a strong storm or two. And these are, let's call them the run-of-the-mill type of severe weather storms that we get this time of the year, where they could be strong, they could produce high wind gusts, and they could produce larger hail. That's what we're settled in for. But because of the timing of them, we're going to have to pay attention to that as you're on the road for us. So I leave you with that here, at least to start. And I'll try to answer your questions here also as we pay attention to what's going on here over the next several hours. So here's what's happening here at the short term as we continue to look at what's in store for us here today. As we look at some of the questions, you can text to 314-425-5355. I do think that overall you're going to continue to look at, conditions outside that are going to be on the warm side. But right now, as we look at the radar, it's pretty dry overall, at least in the short term. You're going to continue to look at pretty clear skies, and I just showed you what's happening outside. Here's where the main core of the storm is, and you can look and, look at this low where this is centered in. And while these storms this morning have produced 40, 50, maybe close to 60 mile an hour winds, they really have not been severe overall. So that's at least been a positive. But behind it, we're starting to see clearing, and that's where the core of this severe weather threat is, right? This is all part of the system that's going to be impacting us later on today. But you look at some of the core of this, and it's from Minneapolis, it's from La Crosse, it's areas up 35 north, northern Iowa, Mason City, Iowa Falls, Fort Dodge, north of Waterloo. These are all areas under that moderate risk for severe weather. And as a general reminder, as I try to bring this in just about every day, I'm going to change the thread of this here. I always have to change the text because I just kind of pull this up on the fly as we're kind of doing this here. Our severe weather threat Monday, and when I put Monday, so you guys know this for sure, that it is not Sunday, this is today, right? When we talk about the severe weather threat and how it pertains to us, we look at what they're dealing with today in far northern portions of the United States. The moderate risk means we have widespread severe weather that's long-lived with strong tornadoes and widespread wind damage. That's what they're dealing with. Notice what we're in. Level 1, level 2 for the next couple of days. That means 40 to 60 mile an hour wind with some wind gusts, right? So that's the difference for us, right? This is the main difference for us that we're dealing with today. Now, you'll notice that I mentioned that we're in one of these spots where we have the level 1 and level 2 threats. Monday is deemed, when it says Monday there, that's deemed 7 a.m. Monday to 7 a.m. Tuesday. That's what we have to think about this in terms of when our severe threat is today, because I talked about how warm it's going to be today, right? We don't have anything on Futurecast over the next half hour. You'll see that there's hardly even cloud cover. Clouds don't even settle in until later on tonight, but we'll pause it there, and I'll just kind of show you how warm that it is even at this hour, right? You have all this warm air that's kind of settled in, and watch how this feeds into it. We have 60s and 70s, and watch where it's feeding in ahead of this front. And that's why it's important here. You'll see the southerly breeze that's feeding in Gulf moisture behind this cold front, this low, and that's where we see all the twisting of the wind, and the upper level wind is strong. We don't have that here, and we're not going to have that here, but we are going to see some pretty strong wind here out of the south. As I pull this back on right here, you'll see these stronger winds, gusts over 30 miles an hour are expected today. And you'll see that here over the next several hours. So like I said, it's going to be a pretty warm day with temperatures that are, 88 degrees or so. I mean, that's near record highs today. 88 degrees, we're at 92 is our record, right? But our weather impact alert day has to do with Tuesday. And, we're talking about our severe weather threat on Tuesday. I put all day into the evening, and I don't want you to take that the wrong way. This is not all day that we're having severe weather, but the chance is going to be there as we monitor the progress of this front. We will see 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts with large hail. Those are our main threats right now. And we want to prepare you for this simply because I think it's going to be at times where you're on the road, you're picking up kids from school, you're at lunch, those are going to get your attention a little bit more, I think, because they're happening in the daylight hours or the afternoon hours. But as we look at our severe weather threat for Tuesday, like I said, that is deemed as happening Tuesday at 7 a.m. and through Wednesday at 7 a.m. from the Storm Prediction Center. And that includes the city of St. Louis, Melville, Arnold, areas, South City, Redbud, Prairie du Rocher, Iron County, Carlisle, Breeze, Vandalia as well. So you'll notice that it is not as significant off to the northwest. Once again, it's a timing issue because as we watch the progress of this front, you'll see that it drags further south. And I'll show you that on some of these wind direction arrows that you'll see, right? The wind direction here, as I pause this, look where the wind is on one side. We have a south breeze here, the front settles in here, and then we have that north-northwest breeze. Along this, I do expect that we're probably going to be seeing more development that is showing up in Futurecast. In fact, I'll show you what this one looks like here as you have storms that run basically parallel to this front here. And you'll see that's where we'll start to pick up some heavier rain. But as we look along this front, that's what we're watching out for tomorrow. Now, as I put this into edit mode, I can switch back and forth to show you different models. So I think that's what it's going to be important. I want to pull this up on a full screen so you can see this a little better. Let me switch this to this particular model, which is a little bit more exciting in terms of rain, right? Tuesday morning, that dying thunderstorm settles in, and watch 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Maybe we're dealing with storms at that point, right? If those hold together, that's where we may see some of those marginal wind gusts, 40 to 60 miles an hour early with some larger hail. It may fizzle out by daybreak, but it may hold on together. And then as that front is around, we may see a few more storms move along that, right? Look how much different that looks, right? And I think that's the key factor for us is when we look at some of these different computer models, not all of them are going to have the exact solution. Even as I pull up maybe a different one here where we have a third model here, and watch how that wants to bring more rain in the first part of the morning, and then throughout the south, you'll see, once again, repeated rounds for thunderstorms. It's not as high resolution, so it doesn't look as good, but it still gives us maybe a little bit of an idea about what's going to happen. So those are a couple of the things that we're going to look at here over the coming days. But I do think that for tomorrow, expect the opportunity is there in the morning with a better opportunity in the afternoon to the south. The main threats still remain, to me, to be wind gusts and larger hail. As you continue to see low threat of wind gusts in the 60+ mile an hour. But like I said, the 1-inch hail and wind gusts, those are our larger things. I do not expect tornadoes. That's a very minimal threat. Neither do I expect flooding. And like I said, and I continue to reiterate, if you're just following along with the stream, you know, not a large severe weather outbreak. It's just not. A strong storm or two is possible in the morning. Maybe we have a severe thunderstorm warning in the morning. Maybe these storms wake you up. Maybe they're loud, and maybe they're slowing down our morning commute. That's not out of the question. But as far as a significant severe weather outbreak, we don't have that. And as the front moves to the south, increases with the heating of the day, we may start to see another round of potential storms. Look at where the storm energy is. And this is one of the things we track for you here as we look at what the storm energy is. By today, it's a lot higher because it's warm and it's windy. We got humidity settling in. But watch how it's still a little high by Tuesday morning before that front passes. And then to the south, watch where that 1:30, 2 o'clock, where those deeper shades of red are. They're south and east of I-70. That's like I mentioned, that's where the severe weather threat goes later in the day. So that's important as well. The other thing I think it's important is that we're going to continue to see rounds of rain throughout the day. Wednesday night, and look at all the breaks that we have. Your phone icon's going to tell you one thing where it says it looks like it's going to rain all day. I don't think so, but I think Wednesday is probably the rainier of the 2 days, in my opinion, because I do think we'll probably see some rain for the first part of Thursday. But as it moves out, I generally think that we dry out pretty quickly as well. So as I leave this severe weather risk on, I want to point out and show you the difference here as I maybe pull up one of the things I like to, and it's, you know, as we look at our severe weather products, I can compare them to some of the machine learning products from the Storm Prediction Center, from Colorado State, you know, from some other things here. And you can really see where we go and look at some of the day 2 risks. Let me pull this out. Actually, I can, if I do that, I can reset this. So let's look at some of the risks here for severe weather. And you can see when you compare it to SLUs, it is not all that impressive. This is a wind and it is a hail threat. Let me pull this back on here. You'll notice that this specific one from the Colorado State is not loaded in there just yet. But you'll notice here in some of the spots here, SLU is not all, the SLU model is not all that enthused with this brand of severe weather here at this point. So when you compare it to this, where we have a better severe threat south and east of the front, I think that's important to note. We still could have wind gusts that are somewhere between 50 and 60 miles an hour, not out of the question, and that could cause damage. We have more limbs on the, or we have more things on the trees now at this point. That's one thing that we have to pay attention to specifically. So from a standpoint of severe weather, that's what it looks like right now. Let's see if we have anybody that has texted in the line with questions here for specifics here as we look ahead to what's happening here at this moment. If we have anybody checking in here so far this morning, I think hopefully it looks like I've answered most of you guys' questions here, and you guys can still continue to check in. Like I said, first and foremost, this is not a significant severe weather threat in that regard, but I do expect that overall, you're still going to continue to deal with the fact that high wind gusts up to 40 or 50 miles an hour aren't out of the question, and we still look at a weather impact alert for those days. So that's, to me, the main story. I do want to talk about the next 10 days because I think it's important to note, and I'll flash that on the screen for you in a second, because as we look about the next 10 days, you'll see that we really are going to see the potential for severe weather really wind down after that. I don't think that we're fully done with significant weather until after Thursday, especially in the morning. But, overall, things are much quieter, and I think we're going to dry out nicely. We've at least got some nicer breaks here in between where, we have temps in the 70s where our weather impact alert day Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're in the mid-70s. And as we head into the weekend, low to mid-70s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're back in the 80s by next week. And that's the way it looks like right now. Like I said, you can continue to text your questions here throughout the day as we'll try to answer them the best of our ability. But right now, I'm not expecting a widespread, significant severe weather outbreak. These are some marginally stronger storms that could get your attention because of the timing of them. And that's what we'll look at and have updates throughout the day. So once again, that's our update for now. We hope you stay safe, and we'll keep you posted throughout the day as we update you on this severe weather threat.